If you think bean salad is just a side made with a few cans of beans tossed with dressing, let's rethink that because this bean salad has enough going on to steal the whole meal. It's colorful, filling, packed with different textures. There's no oil and there's no complicated steps and no need to prepare anything ahead of time. If you follow my channel, I know you're not surprised to hear this, but this is really easy, so let's dive in. Today I'm using cannellini beans, dark kidney beans, and garbanzo beans, also called chickpeas. I love to use wax beans, but they can be kind of hard to find, and wax beans are yellow and they're in the green bean family. They naturally produce less green pigment or chlorophyll in their pods, so the yellow pigments underneath show through. Wax beans are mild, they're slightly sweet with a softer, less vegetal flavor than green beans, and if you can find them, they're a great addition to this salad. The important thing is to rinse the canned beans really well to remove the starchy liquid and some of the excess sodium, and it gives the finished salad a much cleaner flavor. But save the liquid from the chickpeas because we'll use that later. We want to use beans that are firm so they don't fall apart and get mushy when we toss everything together. And you can easily use a combination of any firm beans. I like to use 3 or 4 different beans, just depending on what's in my pantry. I'm starting with a can of white kidney beans. They're usually labeled as cannellini beans. They're more firm than the other white beans like Great Northern or Navy bean. Dark red kidney beans have a deeper burgundy skin and they're usually a little bit firmer and more robust than, say, a light red kidney bean, which is more pale and it's slightly more tender and it's a milder flavor, so dark kidney beans work best for this salad. Garbanzo beans are also called chickpeas, and these are firm with a dense texture and a mild nutty flavor. Since they're less creamy and more substantial, they hold their shape really well. I always save the liquid from the garbanzo beans. It's called aquafaba, and it can be used in a lot of recipes. After draining and rinsing the beans, I like to spread them on a paper towel or a cloth. I don't want a lot of extra water going into the salad, diluting the dressing. Now, fresh corn really makes this salad special. It adds a sweetness and a fresh crunch, and when sweet corn is in season, the kernels are tender enough that you don't even have to cook them. And I know not everyone has access to fresh corn, or you may want this salad when fresh corn is not in season. So in that case, I recommend a frozen sweet corn kernels, and you can just rinse those under cold water. What I like to do is place a small bowl upside down in a larger bowl, and I'm using 2 fresh ears of corn today, and I put a little paper towel in the bottom to keep this smaller bowl from sliding around. And you want to take a really sharp knife and just begin cutting down through the ears of corn. And having that larger bowl there just allows a place for the corn to go and kind of keeps it from flying all over the kitchen. Now I'm leaving this corn raw because I want that crisp, juicy texture. As an option, if you prefer it cooked, you can saute it for a few minutes in a dry skillet, and you can even grill the corn. Those options will change the flavor profile in the salad, but it's also really delicious. Just be sure you cool that corn completely before you add it to your salad. Now we'll just quickly prep our other ingredients and throw them in a bowl with the beans and dressing. I like to use scallions. They're also called green onions, and I use both the white and the green part in this salad. The white has a little stronger flavor, and the green part is more mild but adds great color. And scallions give us that onion flavor without overpowering the salad. If you can't find scallions, then a finely diced sweet yellow onion works great. I'm also chopping about a ½ cup of fresh cilantro, and you can use a little less or a little more depending on how much you like cilantro. I cut off the larger stems at the end that are right underneath the growth of leaves, but I use these thinner stems that the leaves are attached to because they pack a lot of flavor. And yes, I know cilantro is one of the things that people either love or they hate. So if you're not a fan, just leave it out, and you can use a little fresh basil or some parsley or just add some extra scallion tops. Now capers give this salad a little unexpected punch. They're tiny unopened flower buds from the caper bush, and they're harvested before they bloom, and they're usually preserved in brine or vinegar. They're tangy, they give a slightly briny taste to your dish, And if you've never used capers before, don't worry, they're not going to take over the flavor of the dish. They just give it little bursts of flavor and contrast with the sweet corn and the beans. I'm also adding cherry tomatoes, and I prefer small cherry tomatoes in a salad like this over the large diced tomatoes because in a diced tomato, the surface that's cut is a lot larger and it has a tendency to weep more juice into the salad. By using a small tomato, the cut surface is smaller and less of that juice goes into the salad. Now let's make the dressing, and I like to make it in a small blender or a jar so I can mix it really well. It helps emulsify the dressing. Fresh lime juice, aquafaba from our garbanzo beans, Dijon mustard, brine from the capers, maple syrup, smoked paprika, some garlic powder, and a little black pepper. Now I know some people avoid salt, and the capers and caper brine are already salty, so don't add any salt to this. You can always adjust the salt later if that's your preference. Put the lid on it and let's just shake this really well until it's smooth and creamy. Now always taste your dressing before you pour it over the whole salad. Limes can vary quite a bit and some are more tart than others. And if the dressing tastes a little too sharp, just add another drizzle of maple syrup or date syrup. And if you want more acidity, you can just add another squeeze of lime. I think that's going to work just like it is. Now we can just toss everything together, and I like to slide everything that's heavy into the large bowl first so I don't crush the more delicate ingredients. So first I'll slide in the beans and the corn, our tomatoes, scallions, and our cilantro. We'll sprinkle in our capers and our dressing. Just fold everything together with a large spoon or spatula. Try to scoop from the bottom and turn the ingredients over rather than stirring them in circles. That helps keep the beans intact. Now, everyone's taste preference is a little different, so taste the salad and decide whether it needs adjusting. Maybe a little more lime juice, maple or date syrup, or maybe even a little caper brine. At this point, you can serve the salad immediately, but it gets better if it sits for at least 15 or 20 minutes. And I hold the avocado until I'm ready to serve it, and I put it on top of the salad, almost like a garnish. If we mix it into the salad and stir everything together, the avocado gets smashed, and it can make the entire salad look creamy, and that mutes the bright colors. This is much more than a side dish. It's filling enough to serve as a complete meal. It's packed with protein and fiber. Now, this will store well in the refrigerator for up to 3 days, but around our house, it never lasts that long. The dressing may settle a little at the bottom, so just give it a gentle stir before serving. That is so fresh. The beans are creamy, the corn is sweet and crisp, and you get those little bursts of flavor from the capers. And that avocado, it just adds a yummy richness. There is nothing boring about this salad, so if you're looking for a protein and fiber-packed dish that makes an easy lunch, or a colorful side, or something you just want to make ahead for the week, give this recipe a try. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss my recipe next week, and I'll see you then.